On February 27, 1944, one of America's most lethal submarines, the USS Grayback, vanished after sinking over a dozen enemy ships. For 75 years, searchers scoured the seas 100 miles from where she was last seen, guided by official records. But the records were wrong. Now, a single corrected digit in a Japanese war document has revealed her true resting place. Her hull, torn open by a 500-pound bomb, tells a story history never recorded. What was the fatal translation error that kept her hidden for 3/4 of a century? And what final heroic moments does the wreckage now reveal about her 80-man crew's last stand? The answer lies in a single digit. For 75 years, a latitude coordinate in Japanese naval records read 25 degrees 47 minutes north, when it should have read 26 degrees 47 minutes north. This one-digit error placed the Grayback's final position approximately 100 miles south of where she actually went down. Every search expedition, every memorial effort, every attempt to bring closure to the families of her 80 crewmen had been searching in entirely the wrong place. This was not just any submarine. The USS Grayback was the 20th most successful submarine in U.S. naval history. She sent more than 63,000 tons of Japanese shipping to the bottom across her 10 patrols. Her loss was a tremendous blow to the American submarine force, and the mystery of her disappearance haunted naval historians for decades. The error originated in the immediate aftermath of World War II, when American officials hurriedly translated thousands of Japanese military documents. In the case of the Grayback, they mistakenly recorded the latitude where Japanese forces reported sinking a submarine. This single clerical error effectively erased the true location of one of America's most distinguished warships from history. It was not until 2018 that Japanese researcher Yutaka Iwasaki, working with the Lost 52 project, re-examined the original Japanese documents. When he reviewed the handwritten Imperial Japanese Navy Aircraft Action Report from February 27, 1944, he immediately spotted the discrepancy. The aircraft that claimed to have sunk a submarine that day had recorded its position at 26 degrees 47 minutes north, not 25 degrees 47 minutes north, as had been recorded in American naval records for 3/4 of a century. This was not just a clerical error. It was a historical prison that kept 80 American heroes lost at sea far longer than necessary. To understand the significance of the Grayback's discovery, we need to understand what made her special. Commissioned in June 1941, just months before Pearl Harbor, the USS Grayback was a Tambor-class submarine. At 307 feet long and displacing 2,410 tons when submerged, she was built to hunt. Her naval career began unremarkably with a shakedown cruise off the East Coast. But after the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor, she was immediately deployed to the Pacific. Her first war patrol began in February 1942, and though she made several attacks, success initially proved elusive. It was not until her third patrol in October 1942 that Grayback found her stride, sinking 2 Japanese ships totaling over 6,000 tons. Under the command of Lieutenant Commander Edward C. Steffen, she proved herself an effective hunter. But it was when Lieutenant Commander John Anderson Moore took command in May 1943 that Grayback transformed from effective to exceptional. Moore was the kind of submarine commander legends are made of: aggressive, tactically brilliant, and unafraid to take calculated risks. On her 6th war patrol, Grayback sank 5 enemy ships. On her 8th, she sank over 20,000 tons of enemy shipping and even used her deck gun to sink 2 Japanese sampans. But it was her 9th patrol that cemented her legendary status. In January 1944, she rescued 6 downed U.S. airmen in the South China Sea while simultaneously conducting offensive operations. When she returned to Pearl Harbor on January 24, 1944, she carried not just rescued aviators, but also battle honors for sinking the Japanese naval transport Ceylon Maru and damaging 2 additional vessels. 4 days later, on January 28, 1944, Grayback departed Pearl Harbor on her 10th war patrol. No one aboard could have imagined it would be her last. The USS Grayback's 10th patrol took her to the East China Sea, a prime hunting ground teeming with Japanese shipping. Her orders were straightforward: disrupt enemy supply lines by attacking merchant vessels and military transports supporting Japan's war effort. Commander Moore was given substantial tactical freedom, a testament to both his skill and the evolving American submarine doctrine that was increasingly aggressive by early 1944. Grayback carried 24 torpedoes, enough for a dozen attacks if each used the standard 2-torpedo spread. On February 13, 1944, Grayback radioed Pearl Harbor with electrifying news. She had already sunk the freighter Toshin Maru 7,000 tons and damaged 2 others. Just days later, on February 19th, she reported sinking 2 additional cargo ships. The submarine was quickly living up to her reputation as one of the fleet's most lethal predators. Her final transmission came on February 25, 1944. In it, Commander Moore reported having sunk 2 cargo ships and severely damaged another tanker. More critically, he noted that only 2 torpedoes remained in Grayback's arsenal. Given standard operating procedure, Pearl Harbor expected Moore to begin the journey home, as submarines rarely lingered in enemy waters without weapons. But something happened in those final days of February. When Grayback failed to arrive at Midway Island for refueling on March 7, 1944, concern began mounting. By March 30, 1944, reality set in. The Navy officially declared Grayback overdue and presumed lost with all hands. What exactly happened remained a mystery until 2019, a mystery preserved by a single incorrect digit. The truth lay in Japanese records all along. According to the action report filed by Japanese naval pilot Nakajima Toshio, on February 27, 1944, he was flying a Nakajima B-5N torpedo bomber on maritime patrol near Okinawa when he spotted a submarine on the surface. This was likely Grayback, attempting to close distance on a final target with her remaining torpedoes, or perhaps beginning her journey home. Either way, the submarine was caught in its most vulnerable position, on the surface, where its superior submerged maneuverability meant nothing. Toshio swooped in at low altitude and released a 500-pound bomb. In his after-action report, he claimed a direct hit, observing much oil, a water column, and debris rising from the sea. He recorded the position precisely as 26 degrees 47 minutes north, 127 degrees 45 minutes east. But in the post-war translation, that first digit became 25 degrees 47 minutes north, a mistranslated digit that placed the attack 100 miles south of its actual location. Based on examination of the wreckage discovered in 2019, we now know the Japanese pilot's claim was accurate. The bomb struck near Grayback's conning tower, causing catastrophic damage. Within minutes, the submarine plunged 1,427 feet to the sea floor, becoming a tomb for Commander Moore and his 79 crewmen. Their deaths were not in vain. Across her 10 patrols, Grayback had sunk more than 24 enemy ships and damaged numerous others. She had played a crucial role in the American submarine campaign that ultimately strangled Japan's maritime supply lines and contributed significantly to Allied victory in the Pacific. For 75 years, the heroes of Grayback would remain lost, not just to the sea, but to an error of translation that placed them far from where searchers looked. The immediate aftermath of Grayback's loss followed the grim pattern established for submarines that failed to return. Families received telegrams with the devastating news that their loved ones were missing in action. Later, as hope faded, this status changed to killed in action. For the 80 families left behind, the absence of a specific resting place compounded their grief. There was no grave to visit, no certainty about their loved ones' final moments, just the vast anonymous Pacific that had claimed so many during the war. After Japan's surrender in 1945, American naval authorities began the painstaking process of determining the fates of submarines lost during the conflict. Japanese records were translated and analyzed. For USS Grayback, the conclusion seemed clear. She had been sunk by air attack near Okinawa. The error in the coordinates went unnoticed, cementing the incorrect position in official records. In the decades that followed, various private expeditions and naval historical units conducted searches for famous lost submarines. USS Grayback was among those sought, but searchers consistently focused on the erroneous position, approximately 100 miles south of her true resting place. With each failed attempt, the mystery deepened. Some historians speculated that Grayback might have been lost to causes other than the reported air attack, perhaps a mine, an unreported depth charge attack, or even a catastrophic mechanical failure. The uncertainty, preserved by a single mistranslated digit, meant that one of America's most successful submarines remained among the Eternal Patrol, those still missing at sea. For families of the crew, this uncertainty denied them closure. Many went to their graves never knowing the exact fate of their husbands, fathers, brothers, and sons. As the decades passed, the likelihood of finding Grayback seemed to diminish, her story becoming one of many wartime mysteries likely to remain unsolved. The breakthrough came from an unexpected quarter. In 2018, Tim Taylor's Lost 52 project, dedicated to finding the 52 American submarines lost during World War II, took interest in the Grayback case. Unlike previous searchers, Taylor's team employed a methodical approach that began by questioning the very foundations of the search. This meant revisiting primary sources, the original Japanese war records, rather than their translations. The team enlisted the help of Yutaka Iwasaki, a Japanese researcher with expertise in Imperial Japanese Navy documents. Iwasaki's approach was methodical. Rather than accepting the coordinates in translated documents, he went back to the original action reports filed by Japanese pilots. In the case of Grayback, this meant examining the handwritten report filed by Nakajima Toshio after his February 27, 1944 attack. When Iwasaki read the original document, the error immediately jumped out. The latitude was clearly written as 26 degrees 47 minutes north, not 25 degrees 47 minutes north as recorded in American translations. This single-digit difference placed Grayback approximately 100 miles north of where previous searches had focused. The discovery was electrifying. For 75 years, a clerical error had effectively hidden one of America's most famous submarines. The new coordinates gave the Lost 52 project a fresh search area, but finding a submarine in over 1,400 feet of water remained a daunting challenge. Taylor's team employed cutting-edge technology, including autonomous underwater vehicles equipped with advanced sonar systems capable of creating detailed maps of the seafloor. In June 2019, they began systematically scanning the area around the corrected coordinates. Breakthrough. The first sign came as a sonar anomaly, a submarine-shaped object resting on the ocean floor at a depth of 1,427 feet, almost exactly where the corrected Japanese records indicated it should be. The team deployed a remotely operated vehicle with high-definition cameras to investigate. Confirmation. As the remotely operated vehicle approached through the murky depths, the unmistakable silhouette of a submarine emerged from the darkness. First the bow, then the distinctive hull of a Tambor-class submarine. The definitive confirmation came when the cameras captured the hull number 208 visible on the conning tower, confirming it was Grayback. The footage revealed a submarine remarkably well preserved in many respects. Sitting upright on the seabed, her hull remained largely intact. But near the conning tower, investigators found devastating evidence supporting the Japanese account. A massive rupture, consistent with bomb damage. The physical evidence told the story that had been hidden for 75 years. Grayback had indeed been caught on the surface, likely preparing to attack one final target or beginning her journey home with her last 2 torpedoes. A 500-pound bomb had struck with deadly accuracy, causing catastrophic damage that would have sent her quickly to the bottom. Further examination revealed poignant details. Her forward torpedo tube doors were open, suggesting she may have been preparing to fire when attacked. This matched Commander John A. Moore's final report that only 2 torpedoes remained, likely loaded and ready in the forward tubes for a final strike against an enemy vessel. For the first time in 3/4 of a century, the full story of Grayback's final patrol could be told. She had fought until the very end, aggressively seeking targets even when nearly out of torpedoes. Commander Moore and his men had lived up to the submarine force motto, "We dive at dawn to stalk the enemy," until their final moments. Closure. The discovery of USS Grayback provided long-awaited closure to the families of her crew. Though most parents and wives had passed away in the intervening decades, children, grandchildren, nieces and nephews finally had answers about their relatives' final resting place. Gloria Herney, whose uncle Raymond Parks died aboard Grayback, expressed what many families felt. She said, "The most important thing is that they are found, so now we know where they are. I committed from the very beginning that if they were ever found, I would go there, and I will." The discovery also corrected the historical record. USS Grayback had not simply disappeared, she had fought to the end, claiming 6 enemy ships on her final patrol before being caught on the surface. Her story was not just one of loss, but of extraordinary success against the enemy. For submarine veterans, finding Grayback had special significance. In submarine service tradition, lost boats are not considered sunk. They are considered still on patrol. With Grayback's discovery, one more eternal patrol had been conclusively resolved. The site itself is now protected as a war grave under international law. No salvage operations will disturb the final resting place of Commander Moore and his men. Instead, the wreck serves as a silent memorial to their sacrifice, preserved in the cold depths where they gave their lives. Perhaps most remarkably, the Grayback's discovery highlighted how fragile historical truth can be. A single mistranslated digit had effectively hidden one of America's most successful submarines for 75 years. It raises profound questions about how many other historical facts might rest on similarly tenuous foundations. The mistranslation that hid Grayback wasn't malicious. It was simply a clerical error made during the chaotic aftermath of a global war. But its consequences were profound, denying closure to families and obscuring the submarine's final chapter for generations. In correcting this single digit, we haven't just found a submarine. We've restored 80 American heroes to their rightful place in history. The USS Grayback and her crew can now be properly honored, no longer lost in translation, but finally, definitively, found. The sea keeps many secrets, but thanks to technological advances and historical detective work, some of those secrets are finally being revealed. The discovery of Grayback reminds us that sometimes the greatest breakthroughs come not from looking harder in the same place, but from questioning the very foundations of what we think we know. If you're fascinated by naval mysteries and the technological detective work that solves them, dive deeper with Ocean Attacks. Hit subscribe to explore more maritime discoveries where modern technology illuminates history's shadows. Remember, sometimes the most important discoveries aren't finding what was lost, but correcting what was wrong. Help us continue uncovering these hidden stories. Like, comment, and share this video to keep history accurate for generations to come.